Video is on.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming this morning. My name is Mr. Lucan. I am one of our campus ministers. I also teach in the theology department. I teach all seniors this year. The session that I'm going to be presenting on today deals with the morality of gleaning. It is going to be more discussion based, but take notes as you want. But I'm going to be asking for a lot of feedback from you all as well. PowerPoint is going to help guide it, but it'll have some questions and stuff on there as well. So gleaning in an immortal, as in a society that does not die, okay? Depending on how you read scripture, in the book of Genesis, and this is more anecdotal, humans were once immortal. Depending on how we read the Adam and Eve story, at one point, humans didn't die. So when God created Adam and Eve, put them in the Garden of Eden, there were two special trees in that garden. One doesn't get talked a lot about, the other does. So the first tree was the tree of life. The second tree was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And God said, you can eat anything in this whole entire garden, just don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Y'all know the story about what happens next? What happens? They ate the fruit, okay? And actually eating the fruit was not the sin. What is the first sin that was committed there?
Isn't it just the act of disobeying
The
God?
act of disobeying God. Very good. So that's the sin that happens there. But there's this other tree that if they had eaten of it, theoretically, the tree of life would have granted them immortality. But it's just Adam and Eve at that point, and we can read some other context stuff, and they couldn't have kids. So if we had an immortal society in the Garden of Eden, it was one that could not produce children, okay? Inside, we now have an immortal society that can produce children, but there is no death. So my question to start off to you is, let's not jump over it here, is what happens to a society of immortal people if they have kids? Overpopulation, exactly. We have one planet that can sustain our needs up to a point. Cannot continue if there is no death. So, should a society of immortal people with children have a method of population control, let's say gleaning? Yes or no, and why?
I would say yes, because it is necessary, and the book kind of doesn't, I don't think, go out of its way to necessarily say that it's not necessary. I was very necessarily necessary. But I would say that it is a necessity because the whole planet is just going to go kaput, or at least the people on it, if we have overpopulation.
Exactly. If there's overpopulation and no one's dying, we got an issue.
I think they could have less gleanings, but they could have like a limit on how many kids you can have, or there's like a kid limit. So
Okay.
less people have to die.
Okay, so a population limit on the number of children that you can, and this will kind of lead me into my next question. What would be alternatives to gleaning? Throw some stuff out there. A couple of the guys who haven't said anything yet. So we have gleaning the way the book set it up, but the sides just go around and you're dead. Okay? What would be some other ways that we could take care of that overpopulation?
We could possibly try to colonize Mars, but in the book they said they had a failed operation, so that kind of...
Okay, so Mars colonization is out.
We put them all in this big arena, and we make them fight to the death.
So now we're going into the Hunger Games. No, actually, that was, I did this conversation with a group of seniors in my class, and we kind of did take that route of how, kind of a sport gleaning thing.
I think a lot of it would be a pretty good idea, just looking up on the board with
Yes.
Vietnam. There would be like a certain time you've been on Earth, and then you'd be eligible to enter into the lot.
Exactly, and I kind of agree with you on that. So that picture, before any of us in here were alive, came from the draft lottery of Vietnam in 1969, where every male who was draft eligible had a certain number based on your birthday. You had the giant crank, and they would pull out an 8, and the sooner your number was called, the greater chance you had of being deployed. So some kind of lottery system. How would we choose who goes in the lottery and when? Yep. Age. What do you think a good age to be entered into the lottery would be?
I feel like if it's like that future America, it's gonna be a lot different. So probably like maybe 100, 120.
Yeah, give a good amount of time. Did you have something you were gonna say on that? Okay, well, what else were you gonna say? You forgot. Okay.
I think there should just be like an age limit on how long you can live. Like once you live past a certain age, I think you should just. If you can live 300 years, I think you should just be gleaning.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to glean. Like, there's a possibility that you can glean a young child that hasn't turned the corner yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you should just be after a certain age, like 300 or 200 or something. You just get glean.
Or at least be entered into the lottery and maybe pick, all right, January 1st every year, the people who are 300 and over, we're gonna do the lottery. If your number is called, I'll give you some time to say goodbye. But what I also found was a little interesting in this book is when we see, at least when I have encountered in books and in movies and media, people who are immortal, it's just them. It's not their friends and their family. So you have people who have lived for hundreds of years, but the wife, the families, their friends, they're all long dead. So I found it interesting that we're dealing with an entire race of immortal people. So to live for 200 years when you don't have to worry about poverty, you didn't have to worry about disease, you didn't have to worry about your family and loved ones and friends dying. I think 200 to 300 years living that way, I could kind of get behind that. I don't know about you all, but so we're going to start talking a little bit more on morality. And morality, it's a class you'll take as your junior year. We're looking at right versus wrong, good versus bad behavior. And it deals a little bit more with the individual as opposed to society. You take that class your senior year. So the methods that we laid out are our lottery system. Do we think that is a morally justified system?
I'd say no, because one of the points in the book with, having scythes do the gleaning was that since they were still technically human people, they could comfort people at their end and have a deep connection with them still, so that it wouldn't just be like a heartless killing. Whereas with a lottery system, it's like you just roll a dice, and if you roll a certain number, you die. Like it seems very inhumane. It's all numbers or whatever.
Okay, I can appreciate that. Anyone want to counter that?
I'd say it is just because if it's random, then there's no like prejudice or bias. Because there are some bad sides that kill off of bias. Like they said in the book, and a little bit of like a page where it's like one side got expelled because he killed too many like Pan-Asians or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he got expelled. And
So,
then yeah. Also, you can still have the lottery system, and once you get selected, a side comes and gets you. Now it doesn't have to.
You don't spend every single day thinking there's small chance this could be today. You would have 364 days where you're just walking around, you got not a care in the world, but one day, I got a chance that it could happen, and at some point it would.
If this is like in the future, I would say that should like a tag on him at some point. Tag him with like maybe something that could just inject something into him and it just.
An auto injector, and
So when
you're gone.
they had that, to be honest, I'd rather not be comforted when I die instead of just kind of just go.
Okay.
I don't want to think of that. So like, if
Just
I'm
kind of
on
a poof,
lunch
you're
and,
gone.
He's spinning a thing and my number comes down. I don't want to do it.
You don't want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, you'd just rather be here 1 minute, gone the next. Would you all want to know?
No.
No.
Not really. I hadn't thought about that one. That's a great question. Would you want to know? Would it
You
come?
know that you're gonna die, you just be in constant distress, thinking about it.
I'm also a very, I'd say, proactive person. I like to know stuff ahead of time, so maybe that's part of it.
When you like freak out though, like if someone told you you were gonna die, like at the
Maybe
end
a
of the day,
little.
you'd be like,
That's a whole other conversation for a different day. But I do want to get back because I am very conscious of your time and know that it is valuable as well. So I wanted to look at 3 particular sides in this and look at their method of gleaning and figure out who is the most morally justified. Can we all agree to take Goddard off the table, that there is no morality in that guy? Okay, so indiscriminate killing for the sake of killing, Goddard's off the table. I didn't even put a picture of him. So side Faraday was like you. He's very analytical. He's going to lay every single thing out. And when he chooses his victim, went into a school, gleaned the star quarterback, okay? But he also gave them a little bit of time to process it and comforted them. You can't call home, but I will pass on any message that you have. So he does his homework beforehand and then meets with the family after. Very quick dispatching or gleaning. And the similar, but a little bit different, you have Scythe Curie, and what was her method? What did she do?
Just like say she was walking the sea dragon down the street, like just kill that man.
Yes, but what was she put? There was something in the eyes. What was she looking for?
Look at the people that they look like they've been there for a while, like they walk around like kind of sluggishly, and they kind of just look different than everyone else.
The spark was gone. Didn't know anything about him. Walked up, and you're dead.
Was Carter the one who was on the plane?
Yes, gleaned the entire plane. One of his acolytes used a flamethrower. He killed for the sake of killing, for sport.
He had some business.
Yeah. But we're not going to talk about him a whole lot. I added him for the sake of adding him. So let's do a study between Faraday and Curie. Okay? One of the things I thought about with Curie, I'm a teacher, I've done this long enough. I can kind of tell when something's off with my students, right? But sometimes it's just, I'm really tired. What if she mistakes, I'm really tired, or I got in a fight with my girlfriend, whatever it may be, and you have that look. My girlfriend broke up with me. What if she mistakes that for, I have lost the will to live? Could a mistake be made? Okay. So, but one of the things is, so she just, you've lost the look, the will to live, I kill you. Now we come and we talk to your family, and that celebration of a life lived, I thought she did a really good job with that. So let's look at Faraday and Curie. And I don't know that there is a right answer, but I'd like to take the last couple minutes from you all and talk about who do we think was the most morally justified, Faraday or Curie. I'd love to hear your all's thoughts.
I think Curie would be the most merciful if she just like killed without like telling you, because you wouldn't have to think about it. But I think the way that she just kills at random, like with seeing people without spark, I think if she used Faraday's way of researching who it is, they like combine the methods. I feel like that would work really well. But I feel like both of them have their faults.
Okay.
I think that, although I still think that Faraday's method of killing, gleaning, was better, I agree that Curie's method of kind of the celebration of life, rather than just showing up to a funeral was really sad, but like you bring them over for a meal and really celebrating and being super friendly. I think the way that how she acted after the gleaning was better than Faraday. It was more of a memorial than like a funeral, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I think that.
Which is really how us as Catholics should celebrate funerals. Love to hear from this side, especially someone who hasn't talked yet.
I think that Mary is better at gleaning because she just, the first time she gleaned, she like knew that the person had the spark was out, and so she was pretty old, so she probably was experienced at that type of stuff.
She had done this for a long time, and she had changed over the years. She was a little bit godded in her younger days. What they call her, the Madam of Queen of Death, Madam of Death, something along those lines. Yeah, she's. Anyone else got any? Yeah. We take Goddard off the table for sure. But, alright, so we've agreed there has to be some form of a gleaning system. And a society is morally justified to do so, or we simply run out of resources and everyone suffers. You all, along with myself, kind of like the lottery system. 200, 300 years in a life, one day a year, your number could be called. Some of us want to know, some of us just poof, want to be a pile of clothes left there and we have no idea. Okay, I think I'd rather be in that boat than sit there and watch you be all nervous. But in this scythe reality, looking at a case study of the three, we're going to throw Goddard off the table. There is no moral justification in what he does. But we're kind of split on Curie and Faraday, thinking that if we combined the two methodologies together, we have the most moral scythe for gleaning.
Also, I will say that although I do the fact that I do want to know ahead of time, like Scythe Faraday's method, I think one of the things where Scythe, I would want a quick death. I just want to know what it is. So I wouldn't want them to, tell me what it is and then shoot me with a flamethrower.
Yeah, let's go a very humane. And if you have a morally justified side, you're going to have a quick, compassionate, merciful
I think
gleaning.
in the first gleaning that Faraday and the two other apprentices are there for, he uses like a pill that just kills her instantly, right?
Well, the first time that Citra met Faraday was with a knife. He borrowed.
No, I mean when they were
Okay.
both there.
When they were both there. I
Wasn't
can't
it a
remember on
pill?
that one. It could be, it could not. I can't remember on. There you go.
So I'd want something like that if I knew ahead of time. I wouldn't want to like chop me to bits. and-
No, yeah, we're not gonna
If
play
you're the
that
one who
game.
has to swallow it, I feel like you'd just be like,
Yes, I remember that one. She had to physically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want the thing implanted in like your brainstem that just turns the light
That
off
would take so much
when
money.
when someone pulls the switch.
This is the future America. And so like as soon as you're born, they just stick something to you.
That wouldn't be activated for 200 or 300 years, whatever we decide. That the switch is thrown for everyone in the draft lottery.
It doesn't
You're
work
gone.
until a certain time.
What if someone accidentally presses the switch for everyone?
Let's pretend it's kind of like the football, the nuclear football. There's some fail safes
Oh, yeah.
built in.
What if there's big ones, one of those?
You see the thunder?
We're gonna so if the thunder he poses a good point. If the thunderhead can be brought into it, yes, the thunderhead is normally separate from the gleaning system, but bring the fail-safes that the thunderhead, a more benevolent, all-knowing AI into it. Yeah, I think we got something there. But thank you all for playing along. I appreciate your thoughts, your insights today. Have a great day.